just in case you were wondering what a bad alternator sounds like, that would be it. This thing's bearings are completely shot and on the way out. Welcome back, you shitbox junkies, to another exciting episode of The Art of Shitboxes and Not Going to the Tail of the Dragon. So I made it all the way to Indiana yesterday. So I was in Indiana, and this turd, the Brokening, decided to start flashing the alternator light at me intermittently on and off. It did it once before I left. I was hoping it was just a fluke. I checked it with the voltmeter and it was PG. So I figured, you know what, maybe it was just a little bit of oil, from the spout and the oil dipstick. Well, it's not great, as you just heard. It's shot to shit. I almost thought about driving all the way down to the tail of the dragon and replacing the alternator at the Airbnb, since we went with tools and all that stuff, and you can actually find the 160 amp alternator. I'm glad I didn't, because that sounds absolutely terrible right now, and I would have had to do twice as much driving as I did yesterday to get to where we were going. Very unfortunate. I guess I won't be going to the red, or tail of the dragon, this year. But I guess it's time to make some content about alternator replacement and how terrible it can really be in these cars. Because I've already done this one once. And I think the neglect around my dipstick popping out is what caused this alternator to go already. Let's take a quick look here, what we're going to be doing. At first glance, you would think this isn't too bad. The alternator's right there, and it's not really that hard to access. Well, you'd be very fucking wrong. Problem is that it is sandwiched under the AC compressor down there. And a lot of these pipes, I gotta get rid of this coolant pipe, which is fine, because honestly, I was going to be replacing this one anyways. It's 20 years old, and it feels a little questionable right here, where all the oil is constantly on it. From all the oil that got spat up onto my hood from the track day, from that lovely fucking pipe right there. Yes, I should be installing a catch can, didn't have time, but now I'm going to have the time, so I probably will. You got to get rid of this line, you got to get rid of this line, you got to get rid of this intercooler pipe and this intercooler pipe. All while working with very little space in there. Got to disengage the belt, the idler pulley over there, which was kind of a pain in the ass last time. It makes a bit of a mess, because once you move the power steering pump, fluid everywhere. So I'm in for a great time. Alright, so currently I don't have a GoPro head mount. It's actually printing on my 3D printer right now. But let's take a look at what it takes to get to the alternator quick here. First thing you're going to want to do is take off your intercooler pipe from the turbo to the intercooler. I have two, because I have an aftermarket intercooler that I built for this thing actually years ago. And then you're going to want to definitely take off the power steering pump. There are 3 bolts holding it on. They're fairly easy to get to with a short 12 mil socket. You're also going to want to take off this little lock here that's on there, holds this nut locked on to the power steering pump. You're going to want to disconnect the power steering fluid here as well, clamp it as I have here. And then the biggest pain in the ass you're actually going to encounter is shoving a T60 socket and a ratchet, unless you have a specialty tool that I don't, to get to the tensioner pulley here. It took me about 35 minutes, maybe 40, to shove it in there, because the side frame clearance sucks ballsack. And it'll be a pain in the ass to get it out, because I remember specifically just giving up on it the first time I did this into the night, came back the next morning and came out. Getting the belt back on, also a terrible pain in the ass, but whatever. Once you got the power steering pump off and your intercooler pipes off, you may or may not want to remove your coolant hose here, depending on how much room you've got to pull this sucker out. But after that is cleared out, there's going to be 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the AC pump compressor. You're going to have to take all 4 out. They're fairly long. Yay long. Big boys. The alternator actually sits behind the AC. Continue taking this apart, but that's how it goes. This is going a little quicker than I remember, but I now remember why it was a pain in the ass the first time. It's really just the belt. The belt is terrible. Terrible shit to deal with in this thing. Minor update on that noise. It wasn't the alternator, which is still shot, but what was making the really bad noise was this guy. See, this AC compressor right down here, if you look at it, it'll make some noise. Oh yeah, and on top of which, clutch is pretty bad there. you know, I don't, not supposed to make that much noise, but you just spin it, which makes a ton of noise. And it is now Saturday. All the parts have arrived. I've got a new compressor, a new alternator sitting in that box from Amazon, along with a wireless battery-operated ratchet, because I just don't feel like using ratchets half the time anymore, and I don't want to spend the money on a Milwaukee one at the moment. And I also got a new belt because this one didn't look awful, but I saw some fraying in it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm already doing this. I might as well just take care of it. Also got a new upper rad hose from Euro Parts. Don't know how old this one is, but I was feeling a little weak at this hump. So we're getting rid of that. I've gone ahead and drained all my Freon. As you can see, all the Freon pissed all over the block over there and down in the engine cradle. I'm sure that's really good for it. And I took a solid 10-15 minutes to let my garage air out from that. Time to do the fun stuff. Get that out. Get the new one in. Clean some stuff up. And hopefully have this thing back together by the afternoon. I really should do the motor mount. I didn't order one. I don't know why I didn't. I probably will now. But that's not great. I don't know if I'll go with a polyurethane one again, because I had one in here that came with the car, also broke. This one broke. Just really not feeling the poly mounts on the motor mount lately. I also have a feeling that this may have broken because I got reinforced mounts from IPD, I think, like a year ago when I was doing maintenance on here. So it may have been too stiff. I don't know. It definitely sent some vibration through the cabin. Right now my ratchet is indeed stuck up against this frame rail. That's very classic. And I'm gonna have to cobble up this hole right here to get to this other adapter for the Freon AC. This is pushed back because I have a custom chunky intercooler up in here. That was the only way to get that in there. Just push everything back a bit. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun later on too. Whoa, that fight with the belt was fucking real. It's not the easiest, that's for sure. You know, there are a good amount of videos online on how to do it, but now I have to unjam my ratchet out of there with my T60 socket, finish up the lines here, put the radiator hose back on, clean that up a little down there. I got a little place, a check valve right over here, so I can pass an emissions test. I'm gonna continue. Everything's on. Kind of a pain in the ass. 140 amp alternator is a lot easier to get in there than 160 amp, and honestly, since I don't have a sub or anything crazy in there, I'm sure it'll be fine. I hope. All right, there we have it. She's done. She works. Alternator's fine. New AC compressor is in. Just doing a vacuum check right now. I fired it up. It was pulling 14.4 volts, so I know it's working. No weird noises, no weird leaks so far. The only thing I'm waiting on is just to double check that everything in the AC system is sealed and good, and then I get to pour in about 1,000 grams of refrigerant into this thing. That's a lot, in all honesty, but that's what the manuals call for. Even managed to replace this pain in the ass check valve for the emissions system, but I still have to do a full smog test because I've replaced that once already. And it's very obvious there is a leak somewhere that causes this valve to freak out. Unfortunately, it wasn't my usual like GoPro footage of me working on this thing, but this one's pretty straightforward. There are plenty of videos on how to do this. My head mount is just still MIA, so I haven't really been using it to do stuff like this. Hope you enjoyed. Hopefully I'll actually get to go down south now again. Like and subscribe for intermittent Volvo content.